Hi guys, and welcome back to part 17 of the Lunak build. It keeps going, doesn't it? And I'm going to continue where I left off from part 16, and that is sheeting the wing. So let's bend you down and show you what I've got to do next. I've joined the piece of sheeting for the leading edge top. Scarf joint using the masking tape. And that's going to fit somewhere like that. Just clips in there. Put it on there. Let's move that out of the way a minute. So I've got to actually make sure that this is flat, and it does bend up a little bit. So I'm going to weigh it down when I finally stick it down. But that's completely ready to go on there. So without further ado, let's get on with it. It won't get built by applying it, will it? If you remember on this one, I put a support under the leading edge, bit of ply, but this one is a little bit different now because it's a huge length, and I haven't think ahead. Funny, when you get the glue on it, it kind of expands slightly, which is rather weird. Right, let's transfer the glue onto the sheet, and then we'll take it off again. Okay. We're going to let that dry, but before it does, I'm just going to touch in any areas that look a little bit light. A little bit there maybe. You can probably hear the 3D printer running. It's busy doing a project idea I had. Right, we'll let that dry and come back to it very soon. Very soon. Won't take long. Right, what I will do is put some weights on here to try and keep the whole wing onto the flat part of the spars. So I'm going to tuck it in there. Like that. Tuck it in down that end. It's going to stick as soon as it touches. I know it is, so I'm going to get it right first time. Now we apply the heat. I've got it set at 130. Nice and slow and steady. Let the heat penetrate the wood. I'll go back over it again anyway, but put double pressure on, I think. Jeff commented on part 16, Jeff in Alabama. Do I think the air brake servo will be up to supporting it against the wind? Yeah, coming over the top of the wing. Well, we'll find out, Jeff, when we. What I can do is, and I thought this would be quite a good idea actually, if I mount my Mobius camera on the fuselage looking up the wing, I can see exactly what happens when I deploy the air brakes in well, not real time, but in the recording. And if I feel it does need to be modified a little bit, I can do that. Like having a man on board. Biggest benefit of doing it this way is you don't have to pin it down, weigh it down, put masking tape around and everything, and it's instant. Of course, it means I can put this on and then carry on with the wing. Don't have to sort of leave it overnight, which is rather nice. When you heat it up, it sort of remelts the glue a little bit, so it's a good idea just to follow it up with a bit of pressure, just to make sure. If there's an area that isn't glued for some reason, a lack of glue, then you can open it up a little bit and apply a bit of heat and it'll unstick. You can put some glue in and let it dry and then reheat it again. So it's a very adaptable process. There we go, guys, done. Right, good progress on the starboard wing. The air brake's in and the servo's in and it's all boxed up. But I'm just going to put on the first piece of ply on this corner, on this part of the wing. Put a bit of glue on that. So this is a major step for this wing. It means it's catching up rapidly on the other wing. I want to make sure it's good and flat. Okay, lines up pretty close to the back edge. There. Like that, like that. It's okay. Right, I've got a couple of whacking great weights ready there, but now I've got to prop up the leading edge because it curves up. And for that I'm going to use a bit of 8 ply, bit of 8 ply. Then I'm going to put, just as long as the glue, I can see the glue squeezing out on the leading edge, I know it's good. Right, put some weights on there. It's all squeezing out lovely there. And we'll come back to it tomorrow and take the weights off. Sorry, Nick, we'll pause you there for a minute. Nick Chitty Flying, guys, if you want to follow someone else who's well worth watching. Doesn't live too far from me, 100 miles probably, maybe less actually. It's only in Cornwall, next county down, but a jolly interesting chap. Let's do the top piece, and that's going to be cut out of, hey, do you know what? I think I might have left the piece of ply I cut that out of in my shed. Let me just pop out and get it, and it won't be long. Oh, right, I'm back. So this piece of ply costs £14, and I'm just going to have enough just to do the 2 wings. It's quite heavy, but anyway. Oh, don't forget, I'm going to put a card in there as well. I'll get it out now because I don't want to forget. So I put a card in the other wing, didn't I? Just for a bit of fun, just for a bit of in years to come, if anyone ever looks in there, they'll see the card. One other thing I must do actually, and that is to bring one of these wires back in here. So I'm going to do that now because if I forget. So we're going to clip that in there. Clip, 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 like that, to that servo. I'm going to pull that right through there. Pop that one in there. And why not? Let's put in Model Shop Leeds card, as they did such a good job at sending me down my carbon rods for the Spitfire, indoor Spitfire. So I'll pop that one in as well, just for a bit of fun. I think I might take that nice straight edge there and use it. I'm going to go outside, I'm going to cut that on my jigsaw, and then we'll come back. Oh, while I'm out, I think I'll steam this a bit so as it can bend around a bit easier, because it's a huge amount of tension. So I'll be back when it's steamed, cut, and we'll review what's next. Alright, there we are. Just trying to bend this around while it cools. Get it on, glued, weighed down, come back to it in an hour or two, possibly longer. Got to go out this morning, hence the need to get this glue in. And then the wing's catching up rapidly, which is great news. Let me run the glue around this, guys, and I'll be back in a minute. I don't think weight's going to be a serious issue with this glider. It's heavy, and that's it. It's going to fly faster, but it'll penetrate better in the wind. So this swings and roundabouts. Right. And let's see if we can get this on without moving it too much. Just to be lined up. Oops, about there. Come over a little bit, come back a little bit. Just had an idea actually, to stop it moving about. If I put a couple of pins there and there, stops it moving lengthwise. Let's say one in there, like that. Come forward a little bit there, a little bit over. That looks good. Let's just start loading it up with a couple of weights initially. Just come forward slightly to there. Tell you what I'll do, I'll put these bits of plywood on the front like I did when I did it on the other side, just to provide a little bit of support when I put the weights on. I'm going to keep loading this up, guys, and I'll come back to you when I'm taking it off, I think. Yeah. See you soon. Right, guys, excuse the noise, I'm 3D printing as I film, but that is a serious amount of weight. So anyway, let's start dismantling what we've got here. That one, and that one, and the rest can stay there, like that. Right, let's have a look. Oops, it's up there, but not to worry. What I plan to do, I could just squeeze a load of white glue in there and pull it down. What I think I'll do is to try and stick it down with the hot iron. The other thing I can do actually is to push some white glue in there and let it set before I try to stick it down, but there was plenty on there, so it should reactivate with a bit of luck. Right, let's have a go. It's coming up to 150, which is a lot hotter than I normally use, so it's stuck up to here. So I'm just going to put some heat on here and pressure. Start with a bit of heat, and when it's ready, I'll push it down, which is about now. So I'll just put that down like that, and I'm going to get a block ready actually. I'm going to put a weight of a block on there, and that will cool it as well. That's stuck pretty well, and there is a slight up here actually, so I'll put it there as well actually. Okay, let's turn that off. We'll call that mission success. I'm not going to worry about shaping this yet. I'm going to get a bit of wood on the back, and I think On the other wing I did this piece first because I used up a scrap of balsa, so I'll have a look for that first, see if I got a piece that will just go in there a treat, and I'll iron that on, and that will speed things up quite a bit. I'll show you when it's done. Well, I'll show you when I come to iron it on, because that's the exciting part, isn't it? So I'm going to put that spacer under there, and we're just going to pop that on for the final time. Like that. The iron I've heated up to 120, and I'm going to put it on. It's a good idea to hold it down a little bit once you've done, just to let it cool just slightly enough, and it will cool very quickly, and it won't come off again. Not that it does really come off, but just saying. A little bit in that corner. I can actually see on this side if there's any gaps, but there isn't. Turn that off and put that down there safely. Cool down. So what I'll do now, I'll do the top piece, I'll do the leading edge, and the other, probably the underneath leading edge, and then it will have nearly caught up this wing. All I've got to do on this wing, where you saw I put a couple of cap strips on just for the club meeting the other night, I've still got to put that piece on here, a fancy piece, and I've still got to put it on there, but as soon as I've got the top piece on and the leading edge pieces on, basically it's caught up with the port wing, so good progress. Okay then guys, there we go. I've done the twiddly bits, most enjoyable, and so this wing now is pretty much up to the same level as the port wing. So next job is going to be putting some twiddly bits underneath. I think just want to tidy that up, and then I can progress. So see you in a minute. Do you remember in a video, I think it was part 15 maybe, I showed you a little tool I'd made for creating quarter triangular stock balsa. Well, that's what I'm doing now. What I'm going to do is to take that little tool that I made, just experiment a minute, save balsa dust going everywhere. Stop that actually. Right, okay, saved a bit of dust and time. So now I'm just going to sand. Let's get that right onto the, just gently until it hits plastic. And what I make is this triangular section, and that is going to go. I'll take the aileron off, and that's going to go, because the front of the leading edge, I should say, of the aileron is, see underneath, but it doesn't matter. Yes, it does actually. The leading edge of the aileron is rounded, and to cover up the gap on the top, the sheet continues for about 3/16 to cover the gap. There's a piece of wood that goes on the back here. But to stop that piece of wood from snapping, there's a piece of triangular section which fits up under like that. So it's going to glue onto the face of there, and the curved section will fit around the triangular section. But I need triangular section, and I thought this would be an easy way to to fabricate some, and that's what it's turned out to be actually. So I'm just going to do this, guys, and then we'll take off the ailerons and fit the triangular section. Right, the aileron is off, this end is sanded, and this is where this fits. It's going to go just in there like that, and that forms the rounded part for the aileron to sit in. Now it has to be cut to length, so we'll just offer it up like that. We'll put a cut mark in there. I'm being very careful not to knock the end of this because it will snap pretty easily. There we are. Just in there. Slice it through. If you slice it, it doesn't, it does a better job when it's sliced. It doesn't sort of crush it as much. So let's check it for length. Okay. Holds itself. What about perfect length? So now all that remains is to actually glue it in. This has gone a lot easier than I thought. And I'm going to use good old Deluxe Materials Speed Bond, which I love. Just run a bead down the edge. It's going to want sanding because this is at an angle, so we'll let it dry and then I'll just sand it gently down, and it will be good to sheet the back end in. And I've stripped a bit of wood, so I'm just going to glue this piece on here like that. That just goes over that triangular section. That just sits in there like that. Overhangs the required amount, which I've marked on one of the ribs down here. So that should be about the same.
Right, all that remains on this rib of wing now is to fit the cap strips, fit the blocks for the hinges. The plan shows 3 hinges. I'm not sure if that's enough for such a, mine it's a long aileron, but it is not very deep, so maybe it is. Anyway, I've got to fit the blocks and the tray for the aileron servo, which goes in here, and the horn will come out underneath, and the leading edge, of course.
I'm just putting in the last 2. They're all in now. The wood I've used was slightly hard on some of these. To keep them in place, I've had to put a small pin through. But these up here are okay. I like to look over the top and align them parallel to the cap strip beneath, because I know they're straight. So these are slightly hard, but I've put a little bend in the wood as well, which has helped. Okay, last one. By reaching over it, you get it central, and then over the top, just to get it parallel. There we are. So when they're dry, I can sand them all flush and smooth and everything else. The leading edge is supposed to be about 3/8 or so, maybe half an inch. Don't think I've got any half an inch, so I might have to laminate a couple of bits of quarter together, or 1/4 inch, something like that. If I do have to laminate it and one bit's thicker than the other, I'll put the skinnier bit towards the wing, and then it'll be easier to sand the join. And don't forget, I am going to glass around the leading edge anyway. Right, so I've got
my laminated leading edge there, and my calculations are that it didn't need to go past here to form a straight edge all the way down. I hope I'm right. I'll put the rule on in a minute and have a look. So this should go from there, although my rule's not long enough, but you get the idea. So I suppose I could draw a line, couldn't I? Will that support that? Yes, it will. It's all going to be cut off, so it really won't matter if I stain the balsa. Before I start working on this, I'm going to get the other one glued up. So I'm going to repeat the process on the other wing and then I'll come back to you. But what I plan to do is just to plane it down, and then once I've planed it down, I can put a centre line on the face of it for going on the wing section. And then start shaping towards it. And then we'll get a leading edge. I'm going to see if I can sort of plane down to that line. Getting some planing going on. Might have to stand up for this. Oh, how satisfying is that? Keep an eye on the line now. Can only go as far as the end of that, really. Little high spot there. High spot up here. That's what the line says as well. And down there, again, that's what the line says. Okay, I don't think I'm going to go any further than that. What I could do with is a very long sanding block. Let's just clean this up, and I might have to make up a new sanding block. I think this is starting to get a little bit blunt. Okay, so that's the leading edge, pretty much taken down, I think. Yeah, what I'll do, I'll sand off the end, get a centre line there, get a centre line down the other side, and try and draw a line all the way down. And that will give me a line to work to. I've drawn the shape of the leading edge off of the aeroplane. I've sanded an area here, both sides, and got a rough feel for where it's going to be. So I've drawn a line down the middle, and that's going to be my guideline. Done the piece at the end, sanded that to get the feel, a bit in the middle, and then at the end. So now just start planing away. It's useful to have a light up above you because I've got a shadow, and when that shadow disappears, well, it's a guide. When that shadow disappears, or I know I'm there, the shadow's getting smaller and smaller as I get down closer and closer. A little tip for you, I like to set my planes up. I don't know if you know this anyway. You look down at the blade from the front and you can see how much is sticking out. Obviously don't run your finger that way. But I like to set my planes up so as there's more one side than the other, and then I've got the choice of how much I can take off. If I want to take a lot off, I go this side. If I want to take a small amount off, I go that side. At the moment, I'm taking off big bits. And then I've gone to a small bit there.
You want to keep sanding till you just start scoring into this, because the thickness of this, if you peeled it off now, you'd have a raised lip, which is okay, fairly easy to sand off, but that's your marker when you just start going into the masking tape. So I'm going to continue with this till I get down to a point where there's something to look at for you guys. I've sanded the front half of the wingtip, but I've left the back half until I get the aileron in and up at the correct angle. But this front bit's done, top and bottom. So I'm going to keep working here, guys, just working my way over until I'm happy, then I'll turn it over and start planing the other side and working towards the final shape. The secret to a decent leading edge is guidelines, long sanding block, and feeling it as you go, and probably a template to check the section, and patience. Take your time. Do all of those things, and masking tape. If you do all of those things, you'll end up with a decent leading edge. That's my advice. Right, so we'll stop there for the minute. I think the next job's going to be, for this wing, sanding the ailerons to shape. Oh, I've still got to glue those blocks in, haven't I? I haven't decided on how many hinges yet, but sand the leading edge of the aileron and put the hinges in. And then I can start working on the aileron, getting the, look at it again. Is that the one? It is, look at that. Getting the sheeting on the top and the back and the cap strips, and generally finishing the aileron off. So a fair amount of work still to do on it, but we'll get there. I might leave that till the next part. Oh, how about that? Yeah, shall we stop there, and I'll do the other leading edge, and then we'll start working on the ailerons in part 18. But certainly, I'm really pleased with what we got so far. That's looking rather wing-like. Now the leading edge is on. That's really nice. We'll tidy it up a little bit as well when we get closer to calling it done. But I think I'm quite pleased with that. It's a nice-looking wing. Oh, the other thing I've got to do, which I'll do once I've got the ailerons, once I've got the aileron done, I've got to make a control horn, and that goes there on that block, and fit a servo tray, and make a connection up and get the aileron working satisfactorily, and then take it all apart, ready for covering, and then I can put it back in again. Oh, what great fun this is. Loving it. That's so satisfying, building a structure like that. Any of you who haven't built an aeroplane before, all right, this one's a little bit advanced. It's even pushing my capabilities, but taking it one step at a time, and the structure is pretty much the same as any other structure, it's just bigger. So, and working things out as you go has been great fun, and adding little 3D printed parts like the air brake and the MPX holder at the end has been good fun. So yeah, we'll get on with the other wing, and I'll see you in the next video. If you want to see what's happened in the other videos, check out our link to the playlist right from part 1 if you want to sit there for several hours and watch it all. If you haven't sorry, if you have watched this one, I'll link part 18 also at the end of this video, and you can carry on. Okay guys, thanks for watching.